Welcome to the Right Place podcast, where we learn with you how to navigate the world by building better connections that matter, relationships that last, and businesses that thrive. My name is Rudolf, and with me is John. John, how have you been? How's this week been? And what are you up to?
How's it, Rudolf? Great to be with you again. Yeah, it's been a good week. Nice sunny weather here, Cape Town side. It's warm.
Yeah.
Schools are about to start again, so just enjoying the last bit of the school holidays with my kids. But otherwise, it's been a good week. And your side?
Yeah, probably the same. Working from home mostly, so that also helps. But because it's school holidays, it's nice to be around the kid and at home. But you can feel things are changing again, and people are getting into a bit of a rhythm. My wife was rather frustrated that I told her I'm still on leave, but I worked probably the whole week. Not necessarily hardcore work, but planning a lot of things, doing a lot of admin, getting things right for the year, and setting myself up for success a bit. So, but yeah, we on Friday and ready to roll again.
Awesome. Yeah, I think being married always brings with it some interesting things. If you've got nothing to do, your wife will find something for you to do very quickly.
Yeah, the funny joke on our side, and my wife she's very organized, so she'll tell me we need to do this or that, and then 2 days later she'll tell me, but you still didn't do it. I'm like, listen, if I said I would do it, I will do it. You don't have to remind me every 6 months. And it's a bit of a running joke. I get into a lot of trouble every time I do it. So John, I've been busy this week planning the first IBN, the Irene Business Network, and I thought let's have a chat about what is it, how does it work, what do we do, and so on. I think that is one of the parts where we connected very well over the last few years, in that you started the Clara Business Network a few years ago. And I think we touched on it last time that we spoke about how it works or not how it works, but what it is really. So maybe just inform us or tell us a little bit about how it works, how is it set up, what do we do there?
Cool, thanks, Rudolf. Yes, so as I mentioned previously, myself and Gerard Kruijwagen, we started the Clara Business Network 2020. And it was born out of a need for people and neighbors to connect here in Cape Town side. And what we wanted to do was to bring people together, to meet new people, to make new connections. I've attended some other business networking type events, first in Pretoria side and in Cape Town side. And business networking is vital, I think, especially vital being in South Africa. We're stuck here at the bottom end of South Africa, of Africa, and we need a place where we can connect with other like-minded people, business people, hear what's going on, maybe listen to an interesting guest speaker. So basically the CBN is a very no-frills, high-impact networking event. And when I say no frills, is we just do stuff and make things happen. We don't have a membership. We don't have a fee to join. You don't have to attend minimum courses. You don't have to pay to attend, anything like that. We wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to attend. And that might not be a popular business model out there, but it works for where I stay here in Durbanville. And we wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to attend. So at the moment, our events run every month. And we get between 80 to 120 people, depending on the guest speaker, depending on the time of the year. And it's a great mechanism to meet your neighbors, meet friends in the area, and have that regular contact with people. People are actually very busy. And I often say this to my wife: if you see and hang out or have a braai with someone 2 or 3 times a year, it's actually a lot. Because people have their own lives, they do their own things in school holidays, they go overseas, they work here, there, and everywhere. So if you see someone 2 or 3 times a year, it's actually a lot. But if you have this opportunity to see someone on a monthly basis at an event that's free, that's well put together, and you might learn something, meet some interesting guest speakers, then that will obviously get you in front of people 8 to 9 times a year. So I think that's what the benefit thereof is. So it's been running for since 2020. This is our 5th year. I'm busy organizing our first event, which is on the 25th of January. So looking forward to this, our 5th year, and implementing some new strategies. Tell me a bit more about the IBN and your journey so far.
Yeah, we also spoke about it last time, and I think what is interesting is you obviously challenged me, and I told the story of how we started off with it. But really a bit of a leap of faith. I think we've got very distinct differences between what you guys or your environment versus ours. And again, people are busy. So what do you have to offer so that people would actually want to attend? And luckily, our first one was rather well attended. And over the period of time, we've had a big churn of people. So we've got a big group of people, and not everyone attends every time, which I also understand. But there's a core group of people that now became almost friends at the event, and they see each other every time, and they connect on other levels as well. But we follow more or less the same principle as yours. Ours is every month, so we try and have it on the last Tuesday of every month over the course of the year, and then we don't have one in December because everyone's away and it's relaxing time for most businesses as well. But we follow the same structure within an event as well, where we have a bit of a keynote speaker. I always liken it to a bit of a TED Talk type of environment. So not necessarily focused on business per se, but interesting stuff, things that would pull people together and where you can learn something new or learn from other people. How did they do business? Or, I mean, we had some sporting events based on the Rugby World Cup, and we had an Olympic rower in one of our sessions, and very interesting people. And you get to know all these different people, and it helps us quite a bit in getting people to know each other as well. So initially it was built around Irene, but we also find that probably half or maybe even a bit more of the people are not based in the suburb at all. And that also helps to expand your reach a little bit and to get to know people beyond your border as well. But principally, we want to get people to know each other and build a relationship out of this. I always start these sessions by saying, listen, we can sit here and we can talk and we can try and do business. I can force you to do it, or you can do it on your own, or whatever you want. But it's a trust relationship. So build a relationship as you would build any relationship. And if you feel that something is off, it probably is. Because you cannot build a relationship where there's no trust and expect to do business from there. So it's one of the ground principles that we lay out every time, is that I don't take any responsibility for transactions that happen around these events afterwards and so on, because you get to know each other from here. But follow your instincts, follow your natural processes, your normal processes, and if good relationships come from it, I'm very happy. But don't get taken for a ride purely because it's at a networking event. So we're very excited about this year. I think we don't have that much change, and I'll talk a little bit later on maybe about things that we are planning, but we don't have that much that's changed from last year, apart from maybe the speakers. But one thing that we have that we've decided on for the year is that we want to run through themes. So we've taken the year and looked at what happens in those specific months. What is the month representing, for instance? So we've got a Women's Month. We've got the Olympics coming up in July. October is the International Cyber Security month for interest rates. So there's a lot of different things happening in the world around different periods of the year, and we want to focus our talks on those as well, because you're going to see it in the media, you're going to see the Olympics everywhere, and so I think we're trying to align what we're doing over the course of the year with what is happening as well. So you guys, are you changing stuff from last year? What are you planning on adding to the CBN that didn't happen in the past?
No, thanks, Rudolf. You make some good points there. I think from our side, what we're adding this year is a program for younger people. What we have found is that the youth are a little bit allergic to networking in person. They'd rather sit next to you and WhatsApp you than talk to you face to face. They're very connected, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of that type of stuff. But we want to just show them that face-to-face networking does have a place. And also over the years at the CBN, people have met and connected with a whole bunch of amazing people. And we'd love to expose the younger generation to this. So what we've created is a program called the Network Accelerator Program, or NAP. And I've challenged the youth and said, look, you can take a nap in 2024, or you can join the NAP pack and actually connect with other people. So it's targeted at 18 to 28-year-olds, and we're going to be starting on the 25th of January with that. And it's going to have their own session. So before the CBN starts at 6 o'clock, between 5 and 6, the NAP pack will meet. And it's going to be a safe space for them. I'm going to lead the first one and just explain, look, this is what the opportunities are that are out there. And just say, look, this is our approach. This is how CBN works. And we want to create a safe space for the younger people to come together. And then we're almost going to challenge them and say, listen, you can run with this. I want you to be in charge. I don't want to tell you what to do. I've got enough on my plate to run this. I almost want it to become a self-sufficient, self-standing vehicle under the CBN umbrella, where the younger people can kind of get together, hang out, share ideas. But we want to obviously support them and encourage them and bring a couple of interesting guest speakers, especially for them, targeted at the younger generation. What are they interested in? More than likely, it's going to be social media, how to make money online, how to take products international, stuff like that. So we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Again, what I've told people that I've talked to about NAP already is opportunities come your way. It's up to you to see and grab it. I'm not going to force you to do anything. I'm not going to force you to attend the CBN. I'm going to encourage you to do it. And exactly like you said, you can't force people to do business together. And also when people meet each other, they don't necessarily sign a $1 million deal on day one. Maybe 3 or 4 times later, they actually start talking business. First time people meet, they talk nonsense, talk about the rugby, talk about the weather, talk about politics. Down the line is where the business happens. So I think the consistency of attending events is key. There have been quite a few people that have said, no, they came to a CBN, complete waste of time, nothing happened. I said, okay, that's fine. Nothing happened this time, and nothing might not happen the second time. But maybe the third or the fourth time, you'll meet the right person. You'll be in the right place at the right time, have the right conversation. And I think that's what people forget. So networking is about consistency. That's why we don't have one event a year. That's why we have a monthly event. That's why Irene Business Network has a monthly event. To have these consistent events, to have a vehicle, to have a mechanism to meet people on a regular basis and have these conversations. Yeah, so I think the biggest addition this year is the NAP program. We're going to tweak our program a little bit for the CBN as well, but that's more on the admin side. And we're trying to go for a 50-50 split between male and female speakers this year. We've approached a couple of interesting people. Just this morning, I was DMing some people on LinkedIn, just testing the waters if they'd like to come and speak at the CBN this year. But further than that, it's going to be business as usual. But there's always room for improvement.
That's very interesting. I listened to you talk about the youngsters, and there's this instant gratification thing, and it's because of the success that they see on social media and so on. And I actually, by coincidence, have a session Monday afternoon at 5 with a 15-year-old whose mom phoned me and asked me, listen, entrepreneur, can you please talk to him? He doesn't want to go and study. He doesn't want to finish school even, because he's going to make a lot of money as an entrepreneur. And he made some money already. And he thinks that, listen, I'm going to do it forever. And maybe he will. Who knows? But I think there's some ground principles here that not everyone's going to be Elon Musk or a Zuckerberg or those guys. And unfortunately, they see that success and they don't want to put in the hard grind. And who's going to be your customer if you don't have the trust, if you don't have the network and so on? It's not just having people around that you can talk to or build relationship with, but potentially it's your customer of the future. And where else are you going to find those guys? So I'll just leave it there. Your events, you mentioned 8 or 9. So I just want to ask on that, if you guys, what's your schedule more or less on that, the calendar?
Yeah, so the schedule works. We're starting on the 25th of January, and then we'll be have one on the 15th of February. So it's a quick turnaround, 3 weeks, which will be with Chris Fenning, which we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
And then we try and have one every month, but I try and work on the dates so that they're not near a long weekend, not near the school holidays. It does become a bit tricky now and then, because sometimes you'll have 6 weeks between an event, between your meetings. Sometimes you'll have 2 or 3. So we're not as consistent as the IBN, but we think it works for us. Cape Town is a bit of a ghost town during the school holidays, so we generally don't have an event in January. But this year, speaking to Kirsty Scully and the team at Core Wealth, they really wanted to do something with us in January. So that's why we're having our first January event. We normally did start only in February. We generally skip June and July. We'll see what happens this year, because of the cold winter months, and it's also school holidays and things like that. Yeah. And then December, we don't generally do an event. We normally end off with the big Christmas party and the CBN Big Bash. So I work very hard on looking at the calendar dates. And what I've told people, and it might be a bit of an oxymoron, is I try and ensure that the guest speakers fit in with our calendar. Because you can get a guest speaker, an amazing guest speaker, and they're only available on a Monday during the school holidays. It's going to put a lot of pressure on you to get people there, because the date isn't ideal. So I work with the guest speakers. We target them early in the year, and we try and get them on the Thursday that's going to suit us best. But I mean, there's obviously many ways to do this.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a horses for courses scenario. So if someone wants to go and replicate this, and I would encourage people to try something in areas that you stay at. If you can't join one because it's not available, do it. Start one. Contact John. Contact me. We'll help you to try and set it up. If it's in Gauteng, I'll even try and attend 1 or 2. And I'm sure John in the Cape would also be willing to come through. But there's a lot of work in preparation. Like you said, you need to go and find speakers. You need to make it interesting, because people are not going to come and listen to the same story every time. So it needs to be different stuff, new things, lessons learned. And you'll find that some people are just not great speakers. And you learn from that and adjust. And I think it's also important to have a very good understanding of what is expected of the speaker on the night, because you get potentially the risk of letting someone loose that goes completely rogue and it doesn't have any value. And someone, just so boring that people miss the next meeting because they believe, listen, this thing is not for us. It's just not what we want to do. So moving on from that, obviously myself and you, we MC these events. We actually host them, and we you're a bit of a doorkeeper, the timekeeper as well, but also to make it entertaining and share the right information. I know in your guys' side you've got the charity angle where you promote 1 or 2 of the NPOs and so on that's involved in your areas and that you guys support. But there's a lot of things to go through. So and I know, John, you're quite the MC these days. Don't know if you do wedding MCs yet, but I know you're busy. You did the Psycho Leaders Conference one and so on. Yeah, what does it take to be the MC at this event?
Sure, Rudolf, that's a great question. I think it's changed over the years. I think when Gerard Kruiwagen and I started the CBN, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know how the MC should work, the schedule, the timing, and everything. But I mean, we've kind of learned on the job. I think I have a lot of respect for the role of MC, and I think it's changed me as a person. And I know that I have to put the audience first. It's not the John show. It's not me showing off. It's not me trying to be overly funny or overly familiar with people. I've got a job to do, and that's to keep the evening flowing. I need to be 100% aware of what's happening around me, 100% aware of the time, looking around the whole time. Is everything okay? Is someone in distress? So I put a lot of pressure on myself to try and do it as best as possible, to put the audience first, so that the audience is comfortable. The worst job that you can do as an MC is if you just stand up and you're not in charge. You don't take it seriously. You're late, you're sloppy, you forget. So the MC is there to steer the ship. People want someone to be in charge. People want to take direction. People want to know that John is in charge, Rudolf is in charge, Gerard's in charge, Gavin's in charge. It just helps steer the whole evening if people know who's in charge. So it's important to be in charge. And then it's also important to not take it too seriously. So you've got to take it seriously and then not take it seriously. Things are going to go wrong. People are going to talk. People are going to make silly jokes. Someone's going to drop a glass of wine. A car alarm's going to go off. Stuff happens like that. And so you got to be prepared to just handle it, because again, you're the MC. You need to handle it. You need to make a quick off-the-cuff remark. You need to respond to the joke. You need to wave at someone, walk in late. You need to make people feel comfortable. So I enjoy it. I thrive on it. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't feel like work. It feels a bit exhilarating sometimes when you see things are falling into place and things are going right. It takes a bit of work. I've learned a lot. I'm nowhere near as good as I want to be. And yourself, I mean, you're a natural people person. You're very comfortable talking to anyone and anything. But how's that affected your role being the MC for the IBN?
Yeah, it's interesting. As I listen to you, I do know that I tend to pick a few people in the crowd that I am familiar with, and I would almost tend on making a bit of an inside joke, and it's something that I cannot get rid of. I've tried. When I see myself, I've already done it. It's so instinctive, and it's so as I hear you say that, I'm like, oof, I know I'm guilty of it. But yeah, our group is a bit smaller, and that's the people get to know each other rather quickly there. So we have a bit of a set program, and we tweak it, but the basis of it is always the same. And we do some introductions so that people get to know each other up front. And I think if you get to 50 or so, more than 30, I suppose, people, time just doesn't allow that you get people to actually introduce themselves anymore. So then we push back and say, listen, the networking portion of this session is where you're going to connect with other people. But if we're about 25 or below 30, we allow each one to have a bit of a 1 minute session where they just tell the other people what they do. And I must say, people are rather well behaved in that they stick to that elevator pitch almost. I really do not believe in that. I've never been good at it. And I also don't believe that you're going to get someone's business in 1 minute. It's just not
No.
feasible. So I'll rather tell them about me, and then I'll tell them what the business is. But I'm not going to try and sell something to someone. And that's also how I pitch it to the people. So it helps quite a bit to get that out of the way, because doing business with someone after 1 minute, then you can rather go to a retail chain and buy what you want. But to do business doesn't work that way, in my view. Again, I do enjoy it. People, you said that I naturally talk to people, but if you do those tests, I'm actually in the middle between introvert, extrovert. So I'm not a big extrovert. I out of this role grow into that, but afterwards I'm tired. I go home, I sleep. I'm over this, but it's also a personal challenge to myself. Whereas I do not mind speaking in front of big groups. I do a lot of training in my work environment as well, so I don't mind that at all. But to enable you to get to that point where it looks so natural, I think it's practice, and it's the only way that you're going to get that right. So I don't mind doing it because I want to be better at it, and that's probably why I look like I do it naturally, because I've been doing it for so long in different ways that it comes over maybe like that. But it's every time you go there, it's still the stress of, are people going to pitch up? Secondly, is it going to be worth people's while? We had one incident last year where the speaker didn't pitch up. The keynote speaker didn't pitch, and I had some trouble with the guy on the day. And something in me just told me, listen, I prepared 4 slides based on networking and why it's important and so on. And then we turned that thing into a group discussion. And in my view, we got a nice lot of value out of it. But some of the people came for the speaker. So there's a lot to learn in that process. I think we handled it well. And luckily I was prepared, because if I didn't have those few slides with a few pointers that I obviously built myself, so I knew them, it would have been a complete waste of everyone's time the evening. Did you have some stupid stuff or funny things that happened at the networking events in the past?
Oh my word, Rudolf! Yeah, like there's always something funny that happens, or something funny that goes wrong. I'll start with a sadder moment before I tell you about some of the funny moments. We had a lady from the Little Lighthouse Foundation come and talk and do her 1 minute, and her son was suffering from a very difficult disease. She started crying, like literally having a bit of a meltdown about what her son was going through in the charity and everything. And as the MC, I had to do something. You can't just leave a woman vulnerable crying in front of 100 people. So I just went and stood next to her and put my arm around her. And I just stood there. There wasn't really a dry eye in the house. It was a very emotional moment, a very difficult moment, but I just had to do something. And I just went and stood by her, put my arm around her, and that, I think, just settled her. She was able to finish her pitch. She was able to get through it. And that was, I mean, that caught everyone by surprise. She'd started a charity to support her son, who had a very difficult disease, and they needed fundraising and things like that. So it was very close to her heart. It wasn't just someone talking about a regular charity.
External people.
Yes, if I can use that term. So that was a bit of a hit, shot between the eyes for me to say, look, you've got to be wide awake, because anything can happen at any time. It's almost like live TV. You don't know what's going to happen. This is a live event. People sneeze at the wrong time. People cough, a door slams, things like that. But some of the funny events is, I mean, you give someone a chance to talk, to have a 1 minute, and they just go off on this tangent. And like you said, you don't believe the 1 minute or the elevator pitches work. But sometimes these people, they want to describe to you in graphic detail what they do. The problem is they can't keep it to a minute. So they go off on this tangent, and we do this, and then I do this, and I'm also involved here, and I do this. And no one's listening. So we've had to shut down a few people and say, listen, thank you very much. You can talk to them afterwards. And I think the key with the 1 minute is to, and I say this with love to a lot of people. Remember, it's an advert, not an infomercial. As other people say, it should be a voice note, not a podcast. You should plant the seed for someone to come and talk to you afterwards. So you must make yourself sound very interesting. What problem do you solve? What is your technical expertise or your uniqueness to solve this problem? And what credibility do you have? If you can nail those couple of sentences, and people are going to come and talk to you afterwards. But if you blabber on, and then I did this, and then I did this, and I've got an MBA, or I've done this, no one's interested. You've lost the crowd. So we've had a couple of those moments as well. The funniest thing by far, and this has happened multiple times, is people walk into the venue at our estate here in Durbanville, and I mean, we've set up the chairs, there's a projector, there's a wine tasting, and people walk in and they ask what's going on. And this is after you've marketed your event, you've sent reminders, you've sent emails and WhatsApps and voice notes and everything like that. Some people just don't get any of that marketing material, or they've ignored it, or they don't know it was today. And people are just oblivious. So that's kind of like frustrating. It's like, have you been living under a rock? Do you have no Wi-Fi at your house? where have you been the last? And they stay in the estate. So it's a very, yeah. But I mean, obviously, people are bombarded with communication. But it is funny that you market an event, you create this beautiful poster, you send it out, you put it on the notice boards, you put it on the TV, on the notice board TVs. And still people rock up and not know what's going on. But hopefully that doesn't happen this year. Hopefully everyone is going to see our invites and stuff. But what's happened on your side that's been funny or irritating, or both?
Yeah, I think the worst thing was obviously that speaker that didn't pitch, and luckily, my instincts helped out a bit there. But we've had some funny moments. We've got some, I don't want to mention names, but we've got a guy that does car batteries. He comes quite religiously. He's a good attender. His wife nowadays also attends. She's got her own thing as well. And everyone gets to know him now. So what happened was people would phone me to ask for his number. So what he does is he works from home, has a car battery sales place, but he actually goes to wherever you are stuck with your car battery problem and changes the battery, and you pay a fee for his service, and you buy the battery from him as well. And I think within our group of people, probably between 5 and 10 already used him over this last year now. And so when we start with our elevator pitches, I mention him already. And then one or two of the other guys, as they do theirs, like, I don't sell car batteries. So the people climbed onto this thing, and it's actually very good for business for him, firstly. But if ever someone talks to me about a battery, I send them to Dion, because I got to know him there now. So, but yeah, there's a lot of banter and talk because the group is not as big. We had a very big event once with a Rugby World Cup where quite a number of people attended, and some of them came back again. A lot didn't, and I think the stories and things were quite inspiring on the day. But we didn't have a lot of issues and things that I can quickly think of that like yours. I remember once you told me a story of an issue with some of the wine farms where they complained afterwards that it's not worth their while, and I think from our side the same happened. I'll catch on to that story of yours now, but on our side what happened was the venue once had an issue where they're saying, listen, the guys are not eating or drinking because we brought a wine taster or a wine agent in, and she did wine tasting, but the wine tasting was like Gauteng wine. It wasn't the Cape tasting ones that only give you a sip. So people had 2 or 3 glasses of wine, and then the restaurant didn't sell anything. So they were like, oh, yes, it's not worth it to give the venue to you for free. But yeah, people enjoyed that session. It was actually the one where Wayne Givenage was the speaker from Alta. And this lady just poured out wine for everyone. So quite an enjoyable session altogether. What happened on yours with the wine?
Yeah, look, the wine farms have been sometimes a little bit hit and miss. And I've tried to coach them as best as possible. And it starts with telling them, look, the Clara Business Network is a platform for you to market your wines. I'm not going to sell your wines for you. I'm giving you an opportunity. It's for you to maximize the opportunity. It's the same for the attendees of the event. If you're going to sit there sulking and be negative, well, you're going to have a negative experience. Some wine farms have arrived totally unprepared. They've got no brochures, no flyers, no business cards. They don't have a banner. One winemaker arrived in shorts, which I thought was quite an interesting strategy. Not professional, couldn't really speak, and it was a bit awkward. And remember, it detracts from the event as well. So I try and coach the people. What I've done now is I force the wine farms. You have to come to the estate. You've got to walk around the venue, check it out, and we'll talk about everything and plan everything. Because I want to maximize the return on investment for you. We don't charge the wine farms to come. They don't charge for the tasting. So their investment is the wine that they pour out, and obviously their time and petrol to get there. So yeah, so sometimes the wine farms do very well, and it's usually when the winemaker or the brand ambassador does a very good pitch, because we give each wine farm a slot to talk. And usually when they do it well and they show a nice video, a couple of photos, and they build that rapport with the crowd, then the wine sales are good. Other times the pitch turns into a huge infomercial. It just goes on and on and on, and then you've lost the crowd. So you've got to be short and sharp, give people a reason to come and taste the wine, but then also the wine farm should give you a reason to go and visit the wine farm afterwards, where additional wine sales can be made. Yeah, so it's been quite interesting. We also had one wine farm show up with only their most expensive wines when we had told them, look, bring a range, the less expensive, the medium range, and your top of the range. They only showed up with their top of the range wines. They kind of completely misread the market, and they didn't make any wine sales. And then the lady was quite upset with me. I said, look, I told you don't do this, and you did this. She went off in a huff and a puff. It just didn't work. Again, I can't control everything. People have to have common sense as well.
Yeah, very interesting, John. So I think we should wrap up a bit, otherwise we take too much of people's time. But the one thing that I want to quickly discuss is so I've done this. You started this. You guys are in your 5th year. We're doing it for the 2nd year. There's quite a number of other people that I know that also do a similar thing, and I attend one or two of them when I have the chance or the time as well. But if someone wants to do this, if they want to start their own thing, I remember last year, I think at the beginning of the year, you had a bit of a month-long series almost on LinkedIn where you actually explained the process and gave people tips and content about it. And people can obviously go back to your profile and go and search for it there. How would we be able to assist people if they would want to do this? Is it something that you'd give some of your time off? Is it conversations that they can set up through a Zoom or direct message on LinkedIn or through this channel or something? And are you willing to do it?
Absolutely, Rudolf. I encourage people to start their own event, to start their own podcast, to start their own newsletter. You need to own something. When you own something, you're the captain of that ship. You've got the most visibility, and you become a very useful person to know because you make so many connections. So I will gladly speak to anyone about starting their own business networking event. And it might just be an introductory call. It depends what type of help they need, but I just want to encourage people, just do it. 2024 is the year for starting. I think you can create a lot of value for people. It can create a lot of opportunities for you, and it's definitely going to open doors. It does require work, but anything worth doing is worth doing right. And once you've done it a couple of times, things will start to fall into place. You'll get support. You'll fine tune it. You're not going to hit gold on day one. So yeah, I will gladly talk to anyone. They can DM me on LinkedIn or email us or contact us through the Right Place community. We'll gladly talk to them.
Yeah, 100%, same here. And I think we've also built up a bit of a template. So it's not a one size fits all scenario, but there's a lot of experience on it. And I mean, I actually took your PowerPoint presentation. It was a massive one. I made it a lot smaller, but took yours as a template as well and built on that. So can save a lot of time by partnering with someone that's done it before or just learning from them. Also very happy to help. Like I said earlier on, I would also try and attend one or two because you learn from each other. Different people do things differently. It's important to not think that you know everything. We should always learn something new. And for that reason, I also attend other networking events of the same type of environment. Obviously some big ones as well, but community-based ones where I can. Yeah, good, John. Thanks. And yes, I enjoy these chats. I thought today we're just going to tell people about the networking events that we're busy with. And it's going to be 20 minutes, and we're sitting on a lot longer already. So, thanks for the chat. And I think, if we gave you some value, go and subscribe to the LinkedIn channel, after the YouTube channel, follow us on LinkedIn, go and check out the other content, the website that we have. And then also you can go to johnconnects.com and go and see some of these John's specific content on that site as well, with regards to networking specifically. Last words from you, John?
Cool. No, thanks so much, Rudolf. Always great to chat. Learned a lot, as always. And I think we've got a lot of value to add. I mean, we're still in the early days of the Right Place community, but we want to add value to people and into their networks and to encourage them. We were once in your shoes, not knowing what to do. And now we're here, we've got a podcast, we've got networking events. So happy to help. And go and check out our channels. I'm sure you'll find something interesting to read there.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, John. Cheers.
Cool. Thanks, Rudolf. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time at the Right Place.